Hello, this is Nova Topflex. I will be speaking about user interface and user experience with the Python programming language, specifically intending to discover the magic of TK enter buttons. The upper left corner, upper right corner, lower left corner, and lower right corner areas are actually separate virtual network computing displays, as per usual in the intensified 4 setup of Novatop Convention. If you want to know how the videos are normally set up, I will usually do it with intensified 4 here, and then this is the 5th display. Display 5 uses OpenBox, a different window manager from the rest of the displays. And now, let me actually go back to the intensified 4. In this setup, I am using, now with workspaces, workspace 1 is on Novatop Convention. Novatop Convention, it's 1 for internet, 2 for QEMU, 3 for utilities, 4 for office, 5 for audio, 6 for video, 7 for VNC, 8 for Python, 9 for graphics, 10 for fonts, and 11 through 16 for different TK sessions, so TK enter. But I actually have 4 different displays in this setup. So let me actually change to workspace 11 on displays 2 and 4, which I will use 1 and 3 to control 2 and 4, so kind of as a remote control. Now, if you may not be able to see this, so let me actually check the settings, really, if it's at all possible. I think that there is a middle click feature, or let me think about this. Unfortunately, that may not actually be true. Now, I'm trying to find out. Now, unfortunately, that's the sound the Xterm makes when it's failing. So now, let me actually check. So I changed it to huge. Now I'm going to do the same with this Xterm. Sorry about the not knowing keyboard shortcuts at first. I'm going to do huge here as well. So if you can't see the terminal emulation here, really what we're looking at right now, the bit rate unfortunately is too low according to this. So let me check the widget and check is it possible to change the bit rates. The stream bit rate of 6800, so let me actually check, is there a setting here to change the bit rate? Well, unfortunately, the stream bit rate is supposed to be, according to YouTube, closer to 6800 for the bit rates, but unfortunately, it looks like it's a little bit lower. I set it down to 2350, so I would save some of my storage space. So it makes perfect sense now, the reason why I'm doing all this. Now let me actually check and make sure that this is going as properly expected. Okay, this is getting updates. So now I'm going to do Python, or actually I'm going to do display equals to Python 3.12 on display number 1. And display number 3, I'm going to do display equals for Python 3.12. Import OS, import sys, import to Kinter, import to Kinter.ttk, root equals to Kinter.tk. And then it's going to show up on display number 2 here. Do the same thing. Import OS, import sys, import to Kinter, import to Kinter.ttk, and root equals tk, or actually to Kinter. If you do from to Kinter import asterisk, it's going to be different, like what I just mentioned. Now it should appear as being top and bottom, left and right. It'll be very highly organized in this setup. But the cursors are all over the place. The cursors, normally I would try to do it either way. So now keep going, root, and then now I'm going to have to define my buttons. So define, and then let's just say define ncal, because I'm going to do an ncal command here. So os.system ncal, and then current year, as of this recording, we're on November the 26th, 2025, so we're still not quite in 2025. No, 2026, rather. 2025 is where we're at now. 2026 is where we will be. And then ncal equals to kinter.ttk.button root, and then text equals ncal, and then this here is going to become ncal.configure command equals ncal. Do not put the parentheses in there. And then ncal.pack. And then root.title commands. This is just one possible example of how to do something like this. And then define cal. So what's supposed to happen is I press this, and it gives it ncal. But unfortunately, os.system ncal 2025 did not actually show up. So now let me actually check. Is it possible to do this if the command of ncal isn't actually working as properly? So now, what I want to have is, instead of doing that, is it possible to redefine ncal? So it's going to be os.system, and then can I print os.system instead? And then now I have to change the configure. Ncal has no configure object. Unfortunately, it's having some trouble. This is what happens when we try to do names that match or mirror the other names in question. So now let me do Python 3.12 and try it again without doing the button names matching the command names. Starting all over. Unfortunately, this is going to be for display 1. I want it to be for display 2 instead. Sorry about that. Sorry for any inconvenience this may cause. So this is going to say xterm, xclock, xEventViewer, xrclock, and xCA. Sorry, it's supposed to have the colon. I already knew that it was going to be an error, but I do know proper Python syntax very well. And then this is going to be the xEventViewer. And then xrclock. So why does it say invalid syntax. So what's the difference? The difference is I accidentally said dev instead of def. And then it's going to do the commands, so it's going to suppose match the names of the applications listed. So xterm, and then I'm going to do xclock, and then xev, xev, xEventViewer, xrclock. And then, sorry about this, this is just the sound that it makes here on xterm. I don't know if it's a standard sound, but... So will this open the X certificate authority? Yes, it will. Will this open the Southern Hemisphere clock? Because that's what it is called. The xEventViewer. How about the xclock? So now everything is getting logged into the event viewer. This is the xclock. Is it possible to kill the xclock? Like kill or kill all? Kill this window. It may cause all the data to be lost, unfortunately. And then this is what xterm looks like on the system. Now, is it the same type of xterm as it is when I do it here? Nope. It's actually video reversed compared to what's normally going to show up when you do it on a VNC. So when it's a traditional VNC, it's going to look like the opposite of what it is here. But there is more to do than just that, or just what's operated, or that's operable. Now, unfortunately, is it even possible to do more than one of these things at a time? It doesn't look like it is, unfortunately. This is what the event viewer looks like, again. So far, you can only do one of these things at a time, and there are different actions that you can actually do on this Python. So it looks like it supports series, but it doesn't actually do well with parallel. Is it possible to do a button that actually opens another TK window, or is that a different thing entirely? Because os.system processes don't actually conclude until the very end. And then this is going to be for, and then it's going to say TK, or rather, new TK. Because it's number, pound, hashtag, whatnot. And then now, let me check if this works. Yeah, it does. But because os.system doesn't allow this paralleling to occur to actually happen, that's what we get. This is the difference between os.system and the TK. Is it still magical in its own right? Yes, it is. Is it what you might expect it to be? Maybe not really, but it kind of is. You can also do these buttons to create scrolled text widgets or whatnot. Or can you? Now, unfortunately, I haven't imported to Kidder.scrolledText yet. st for scroll text equals and then this is going to be scroll text.pack, and then now button 7 is going to say to kinter.ttk.button, and then it's going to be root text equals scrolled text, and then command equals scroll for scrolled text, and then b7.pack. Now, can I see the window name? Unfortunately, not really. Can I see the window name if I go down here? Yes, and it's called commands. Now, you can do this as many times as you want to or need to, and then, unfortunately, this will make it say this, but it doesn't have a destroy option, which is the unfortunate truth about this. There's also a grid option or a grid functionality in addition to all this. Now, you can also do it not just in this way. There's definitely going to be more flexibility than just what's available here. Now, on the other hand, while you can do this with the OS and others, you can also do this to change environment variables. Like sys.environ is what I think it is. Or, no, it's os.environ. And then os.environ, can this be changed? Technically, yes, it can be changed. And then that's os.environ b for binary. And then, unfortunately, string expected, not int. Because that's what it is. It's the wrong data type to try to do an int. But you could, or I think you should be able to change a lot of this. So really, now I'm going to do a lot more buttons that change environment variables. So in this case, def d1, it's going to be os.environ, and then display equals, and then it's 1. And then root equals sekinter.tk, and then text equals sekinter.text root, and then it's going to be text.pack. And then main loop is when you do production code. You don't really need to do main loop in order to do it on the interpreter, but it's different here. Now, def d2 is going to be the same way. I want to repeat this, except change the os.environ display variable to 2, and then it's going to do everything else from here. Root equals sekinter.tk, text equals sekinter.text root, and then text.pack. Def d3 here, and it's going to do the same thing. I want it to, so this is another setup. There are infinitely many concepts that you could possibly do. I'm just only doing the basics right now of Tkinter for educational, documentary, scientific, and artistic purposes, ideally. So this is actually to teach users the Python programming language in many ways. Text.pack here again, and then def d4 is going to be again os.environ, and then display. Now os.environ is set to the display variable of 4, even though this is on 3 because of what I said in the shell to open the interpreter. But this can still be modified, manipulated using the Python interface. So Python can change the environment variables as well. And then text.pack, and then this is going to be one example. And then now I'm going to do it again, def d5, but I'm going to change it here. Instead of doing text, I'm going to do scrolled text. So in order to do scrolled text, sorry about indentation error, but import tkinter.scrolled text, tkinter. Now I'm going to do d5 the way I want it to be. os.environ display equals, and then this is going to be 5. root equals tkinter.tk, and then scroll equals tkinter.scrolltext.scrolltext root, and then scroll.pack. b1 equals tkinter.ttk.button root, command equals d1, text equals open on display 1, and then I'm going to do the same thing, change it to b2. And there's only one difference. On the 5th display, it'll open a scroll text. On the first 4, it'll open a regular text. So this is the interpretation. And then now b1.pack, b2.pack, b3.pack, b4.pack, and b5.pack. Unfortunately, I didn't actually do titles. I did not make my own titles to any of this. It's just TK. Does open on display 1 work? Yes, it does. And it did a text box successfully. Or did it? And then did display 2 work properly? And how about 3? And how about 4? Unfortunately, it didn't actually change the environment. Hopefully you know better than I do how to change the OS environment here, because as of right now, I can change the OS environment, but unfortunately it won't let me do that. So now the scroll text was actually meant for the display 5. So hopefully you know better than I do how to make sure that it doesn't open on the wrong thing, because this is meant to be slightly different from the others. My goal for this is to be a scroll text widget, and for the others to be regular text widgets. So why the difference? It's because I have to change the command. So b2.configure, command equals, and then I'm going to pair b2 with d2, and then b3 with d3, and then b4 with d4. So let me actually check, can I do b5 with d5? Because display 5 didn't actually open anything so far. Now, in this setup here, I'm going to close out on the other TK windows, and I'm going to check, and I'm going to try to verify, validate here. Did I succeed in doing a display 2? Yes. Did I succeed in doing a display 3? Yes. How about a display 4? Yes. Display 5. Now, display 5 belongs to a different interface and a different area on the screen and on the system. Now I'm switching over to where the TK interface for number 5 is, and number 5 is actually a scrollable or scrolled text widget. Display 5 shall be with a scrolled text widget, and the others shall have regular widgets. If you would like to see my work and what I did to try to get to these different concepts, then feel free to look back. Feel free also to check in. If you have any guesses for what I did at all, please chime in, because it's very important and very notable to see how my work succeeds and how much attention you're receiving to it. Do you know of any other magical ways to use the tkinter, or even how to make sure, because os.system only allows commands to be performed in a series and not in parallel. That's another thing I'm trying to get past, is how do I make sure that I can do everything in a series? How do I make sure that it doesn't all have to be parallel rather than, sorry about that, other way around setup. So is there any way to make sure that this is able to happen? Unfortunately, if this stream cannot survive, if it cannot maintain itself for much longer, I might have to end the stream early. The stream's current bitrate is too low, but if you like this type of content and would like to learn more, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Signing off. Your stream will stop immediately and you will no longer be live.